All right, Daniel, we are live. So, um, hello. Thank you for joining.
Thanks, Connor, for inviting me. I'm just retweeting the link now, so
Okay.
just a moment.
So, I'll put the disclaimer up front, too, that I haven't done this in what feels like forever. So, I'm recording this. So, I'm not going to bother looking at the YouTube chat or anything like that to see if the audio sucks because I don't really care. But I am recording it. So, if I need to, I'll put it up online later. But um, I will go over how this came about because so actually, Daniel, we met for the first time in London. I
Yeah.
had not met you, I don't think, up until that point, unless I'm mistaken. Um, and I enjoyed talking to you. I had quite a number of conversations, I think, maybe. Um, I enjoyed it. I know that you had been talking about this concept of boost then. I don't think we got too into it then, but what I've noticed since London, and maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there is a lot of these like let's use proof of work in these ways on top of Bitcoin, aside from the proof of work function inside of Bitcoin. I know that there's Boost, then there's 21E8. I don't think there's any connection there unless there's a, I'm mistaken there. Um,
Nope.
okay, so what I am genuinely curious about is I don't see the value of proof of work outside of Bitcoin's. I was going to say security function. It's not really even Bitcoin's security function. But I genuinely just don't see it. I've tried to look at it. I have not read. So I think you sent me a book on the Handicap Principle. I will fully admit I have not read it. So I'm at a disadvantage there, but maybe you can help explain it to me. But maybe I'm coming into this conversation as like, hey, I'm an end user. Like, why should I use Boost for my Bay mails, for example, right? I don't understand the answer to that question. And there's a lot of other questions I have, but maybe we can just jump in and I'll let you kind of introduce what you want to talk about.
Okay. Well, on
And
the
if I could,
screen.
sorry, I'll interject one time. I'll just say I have, I'm coming at this like from a very much wanting to learn concept. I hope you understand. I'm not being like this sucks or anything like that because I really just generally am coming from a place of ignorance.
Oh no, that's fine, and it would be fine if you were saying that it sucks too. I'll talk to anybody. So either way is fine.
Okay. Okay.
But yes, wanting to learn is better. Um, So I have on my screen a statement of the handicap principle, and it says that the only reliable signal that can be transmitted over an adversarial connection is one that demonstrates opportunity cost. And so what that means is we need to use proof of work when we want to convince each other that we know what we're talking about and that we are worthwhile connections. So we've had a big problem in Bitcoin with an endless series of crypto cults. So what I want to do is end the crypto cults so that we can just talk about what makes Bitcoin more valuable and
Okay.
not get interrupted with uh, with people who are good at promoting nonsense ideas.
All right. So then let me stop here and let's dig into this then. So why is proof of work the only way to demonstrate an opportunity cost?
Well, it's not. It isn't the only way to demonstrate opportunity cost, but it's the only way of doing it over the internet. So it's the only way that is cryptographic. Um,
But what if so what is the difference? Okay, so let's view this in real life, okay? And if you want to use a different example we can, but like let's talk about Baymail, right? So why would the signal that I want to send over Baymail be to attach proof of work instead of maybe staking money, right? If we, if we want to have some analogy, we could say proof of stake versus proof of work.
okay. Well. Yeah. Well, I have the answer right here. This is the mystery method: how to get beautiful women into bed by mystery. And what he says in the book is that you should not buy a woman dinner. You should use negging. So the negging is the opportunity cost. Buying dinner is a method that is open to manipulation or open to exploitation. So the same principle applies with bay mail. If you here's the Handicap Principle book, by the way. So you should read this.
Okay.
If you are setting the price that that it costs to receive a bay mail, well, first of all, let's take a step back. Payments are for services rendered. So receiving an email is not a service. And to me, if you want to get paid to receive an email, you want something for nothing. And that's never going to work long term. That's an exploit. So if you set a price to receive a bay mail, your incentive is to set the price to set the price such that you receive more bay mails than you actually want to read, because you benefit from the bay mail other than from the information in it. So if you're setting a price, that means that you want to receive more bay mails than you are able to read, because you can get money from them. Whereas if you set a boost difficulty, your incentive is to set the difficulty at exactly the point where you receive as much information as you want to read. And consequently, someone who sends you a bay mail with boost has can expect that you will have read it. At least he can expect that your optimal strategy is to set your difficulty so that you want to read everything that you receive.
But okay, but why? There's no answer why. Why do I care about a proof of work difficulty? Wouldn't I care more about money than I would a proof of work difficulty?
Well, yeah, but somebody who understood the problem that I just said just wouldn't send you a bay mail. He'd bay mail somebody else.
But couldn't it be okay? So first of all, couldn't bay mail change the system to be like, if I respond to the email, the payment is received or something like that, right? So I think the detail of, well, just because I sent the email, therefore they get paid, maybe that can be changed with some kind of configuration on bay mail's end, right? So that detail could be up in the air as to how the user gets paid. But aren't we really talking about which one does the recipient value more, proof of work or payment?
Well, you value proof of work more because it's rational to pay more attention to messages that demonstrate more opportunity cost.
But I don't value proof of work over money at all.
Well, you're incorrect. You're valuing the wrong thing. So let's go to the paper.
Well, maybe I could, before we even get in paper, I would actually submit that they are in some ways equivalent anyway. Because
no, they're not, because you receive money if you receive money with one and you don't with the other. So they're not the same.
But from the sender's point of view, I would say they're equivalent, and here's why.
No, they're not equivalent because the sender knows that you don't read every email that you receive.
How do I know that you're going to read what I boost?
Because if you receive more emails or more bay mails than you are able to read, you're wasting time, and you can save time by increasing your difficulty. And whereas if your difficulty is too high, then you're missing information that's worthwhile. So your incentive is to pick the correct difficulty so that you don't waste time, and the information you receive is optimal.
But it sounds like we're saying, couldn't you say the exact same thing about the price that it costs to email me?
No,
Could be too
because
high?
no, if you set a price on your Bay Mail, I just won't email you. That I just won't send you a message. See, if you set a price, you're losing messages from people who understand the problem. They just won't talk to you.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't
No,
think.
no, that is true because I just told you you won't get a Bay Mail from me. Okay, so there's one person
And
who
you
will
won't get a
never Bay Mail
boosted
you.
Bay Mail from me. So we're at an impasse here, right?
Yeah, but you don't understand the problem. So it's not as bad for me to miss a Bay Mail from you.
Okay. So okay, okay. So keep going, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so here's the handicap book. Here's what happens when we don't use proof of work. It's easy for a manipulator to take over the network and turn everybody into Agent Smith by infecting them with parasitic memes. And here's what we get when we do use proof of work. We get individuals who are able to find each other.
In Bitcoin, we see that. How
Well,
do you know that this
it
is what
just works.
happens in a social context here?
Because of the result in this paper. This is biological signals as handicaps.
So
And
I will give the disclaimer. I've listened to you go over a lot of this, and I don't want to. I know that probably other people that are listening to this maybe have not, but I'm selfish. All I care about is my conversation with you. So
yeah,
go back to the previous slide, or the previous
This one.
tab there. This would only happen for the people doing the proof of work.
yeah, they have to find each other.
So in Boost, am I doing the proof of work on my Baymail message, for example?
I'm don't know. I mean, so to me, the most important application of Boost is as a content ranker, but it can also be used as a spam filter, as in Baymail. But so far, the content ranking application isn't built out yet. So we're working on that. But that's really what I.
So
What
okay,
I-
so let's dig into that then. So that's interesting then. So a content. So how would you envision it? Maybe if, like in your ideal world, what application would be built around it?
Well, the reason. Well, just imagine something like Reddit,
Okay.
except that there's no downvote because you can't have negative proof of work, and the upvote is proof of work. So the reason that Reddit was taken over in Bitcoin was because we were not doing that. It's because upvotes are cheap, especially for the platform. They
Right.
can manipulate the story. So Reddit is a platform that will turn into this really easily.
I agree.
But we fix that if we say that proof of work is the upvote, because then people cannot. It is no longer cheap to spread parasitic memes.
Am I right in saying that, like, you're saying, because when I hear all that, I think, yeah, that sounds great, but we should be doing that with payments instead. Payments seem to me to be the solution, and that's where
don't buy a woman dinner. Use negging. That's what the mystery method says. Okay? No, don't buy her dinner. Use negging.
But this doesn't seem rooted in experience to me, at least.
Well, you will have to find Mystery and Chris Odom and get more details from them.
Okay.
But if the payments are open to manipulation, right? There isn't. It is not. It's not a service to read a message or receive a message. Payments are for services rendered. Like what I'm talking about is building relationships. So there isn't a service that's performed when we build a relationship. That what you want is to show that you are good without being exploited. But if you make payments, then you are being exploited. So that's not what you want. Payments are for services. Proof of work is for relationships.
So who is doing the proof of work in these systems, these content ranking systems?
With Boost, it is anyone with ASIC machines who's actually doing it. But
Okay.
people are paying them for the proof of work. So they're buying proof of work from people with ASIC machines.
And so why is the act of purchasing proof of work different from a manipulation perspective than just being able to manipulate by paying content creators or whatever, right, in that other payments system?
Because if you pay the platform, then what you're making is an advertisement, and it becomes the platform's job to figure out who wants to look at it. But if a message just has proof of work attached to it, then it's already more rational for everybody to look at it. And a payment can be proved, but a payment is not a demonstrated opportunity cost. And the reason it's not is people do not agree on the value of money. The value of money is totally speculative. So if I pay you some money and other people can verify that this happened, that doesn't mean that they care. See, because maybe Bitcoin is going to crash tomorrow. People will disagree today on whether that will happen, but it's theoretically possible. So if I make a payment on the day before Bitcoin crashes, that's not actually an opportunity cost, because that's actually the best thing that I can do is to get rid of Bitcoin. Whereas when we're talking about proof of work, we're talking about spent energy. And we're talking about something that is actually lost. Whereas when Bitcoin is an imaginary good, so when I pay somebody, there isn't anything that's actually lost. Well, first of all, Bitcoins are not lost because they just move somewhere else, and there is not any physical good that is lost. So there isn't a real opportunity cost that is demonstrated with payments.
So I would not agree with that for, I guess, a few reasons. I mean, the first would be all because people don't agree on the valuation of Bitcoin doesn't remove that. Imagine if it's the US dollar, which people don't agree on the valuation of the US dollar, right? So that's more of a concept of like, well, the valuation of money is subjective, right?
Well, yeah, it doesn't. Well, but that doesn't change anything. I would say payments in dollars aren't any good either.
And I'm saying I don't. If I'm a content creator, imagine I'm the content creator. I mean, are you saying just don't even include payments at all to these systems? Because why would I produce content if all I'm getting are will amount to like imaginary points? If I were going to say difficulty, proof of work difficulty to me is just imaginary points.
Well, because you can tell people things that make the world better, and then that makes you better. So like one thing that I wish we had this application for earlier was warning people about COVID-19. So if I were to tell people, wash your hands, and I attached proof of work to that, then I would benefit because more people around the world would be washing their hands because they would read the message.
But there's still the disconnect between A and B there. Because why are more people reading the message? Just because
they get better information when they read information in proof of work order.
But this is where I'm connecting your previous fallacy with
okay.
this one.
Well, let's go through the paper now.
But hang on, but you had
no,
real quick.
If you want to know okay.
Real quick.
What?
You had just said that we don't agree on the valuation of Bitcoin, and therefore it's not a reliable opportunity cost indicator. But yet we're arguing. I mean, now you're essentially saying we have to agree on the valuation of the opportunity cost of proof of work, which we clearly don't agree on, right? So where's the difference here?
Well, the difference is that with proof of work, you're losing energy. So energy is a physically real substance that is spent.
But I would argue money is a measure of energy in some capacity.
Well, that's not true.
Okay.
Money is a different good.
How do you earn money?
The value of money is future new production. So check out my the video that I just did on In the Box Twitchcast on the theory of money.
Okay.
So you earn money by doing proof of work, or no, that's wrong. You earn money you earn money by doing work.
Right.
But the value of money changes over time. So,
yep.
And you can spend that money later. But proof of work means you're just proving that you can throw something away. Okay, so when we do proof of work, you have energy and you prove that you can get rid of some of it. And you don't give it to somebody else, you just make it useless.
So what if there was a way to reliably burn Bitcoin, take proof of work out of the equation, but just I could prove that I burned Bitcoin, would that also be a reliable opportunity cost in your eyes?
Well, no, because the value of Bitcoin is still speculative. The value of Bitcoin is future new information. So people don't agree on what that is. That's not the value of energy. The value of energy is anything that can move needs energy. So you need, like, you can value energy right here, right now, no matter where you are in the world, because you have the need for it everywhere, not just in machines, but in your own body. Whereas valuing money requires understanding the whole future economy of the world. So people don't really know that, but they have a much better idea about the value of energy just from their individual situation.
Okay. I would still disagree, but I'll let you continue. So let's go into this, what you have up here.
Okay. So the ESS model. So ESS means evolutionarily stable strategy. So a stable strategy, what that means is when everybody is doing it, nobody is better off from doing something different. So this paper shows that handicaps are an evolutionarily stable strategy. And it has a model, and it proves that handicaps are the optimal strategy in the parameters that it defines. So it says that males vary in some quality or some quantity of interest females, which females cannot observe, but which, if they could, they would be selected to use in mate choice. So this is about knowing the truth. It's about a hidden truth that's important to other animals, but that is not inherently visible. And males also vary in some unobservable quantity, which will be denoted. I'm not going to go over the math.
Okay.
The level of advertising of a male may depend on his level of quality. Males can alter their value of advertisement, and a male strategy is a function which gives advertisement in terms of quality, which determines a level of advertising corresponding to each true quality. So, so females use the observed value of advertisement to infer a male's value of quality. The inferred value for quality of a male, a female strategy is a function P of A. So that means perception as a function of advertising. So the males in this game have an advertisement, which is a function of their quality, and the females have a perception of quality, which is a function of the male advertisement. And by the way, when the author says males and females, he's talking metaphorically, and he talks about the, later in the paper in section 4, other interpretations of the models. So males and females are a possible application of this model, but it is not the only one. Really, male means the person sending the signal, and female is, well, the animal sending the signal, and female is the animal reading the signal. So, so then he says the fitness of a male depends on his true quality, which is the hidden number, his advertising level, and his perceived value. So there's three things that affect the male fitness. That's what he has inside. There's how his use of advertisement affects him, and how he's perceived by females. And the fitness of a female, it will be assumed to depend on the discrepancies in her perception of males' true qualities. So what he says, what Graffin, is the author of the paper, says is that females lose fitness based on the average, their average failure to discern a male's true quality. So now we're going to skip ahead to the result. So what Graffin shows is that if it is a stable strategy for the advertisement to be used, in other words, if the stable strategy of the model is for advertisement to be something other than 0, then there are these three conditions that he derives. So A star and P star, those are the stable strategies. So A means advertisement, so that's the male strategy, and star means it's the stable strategy. And P means perception, so P star is the stable female strategy. So he's saying if there are two stable strategies, one for males and one for females, that are evolutionarily stable, and with let's see, what is W2? W2 is the partial derivative of the male fitness with respect to the second variable, so P.
So how can we apply
if
this?
Advertisement, so if advertisement as a function of Q is increasing, then the three conditions are that the female strategy inverts the male strategy. So honesty. So in other words, females correctly infer quality from reading the advertisement. And second, W1 is less than 0, so that's a partial derivative with respect to advertisement. So that means a male is less fit if he advertises more, irrespective of how the advertisement affects the other variables. So partial derivatives, that's what that means. So if it was not the case that the advertisement got the male more attention from females, the cost or the advertisement would make him less fit. That's what condition B means. And the last one says that it is costlier for worse males to achieve a similar advertising level. So between two males, one of whom has a higher quality than the other, it's costlier for the less fit male to achieve the same level of advertising. So what happens in this model is that all of the males are honest about how good they are. And so they're all ranked by the level of advertising. And the level of advertising tells the females which ones are good on average. And that's important to understand. But remember, he says earlier that that female fitness has to do with their average assessment of quality. So on average, females are correct about assessing quality. So the ranking is not absolutely perfect, but you're on average correct if you look at the rankings. So it's so the question about how to apply this in real life is determining whether something that looks like a handicap, like the peacock tail, whether it is a stable strategy to use the advertisement, and whether the costs of following a different strategy are as described in the paper. And so this is difficult to determine experimentally, because it's hard to test for every possible cost or every possible way of following the strategy incorrectly. But I also think that this model is quite simple. So I think that it is very likely to be something that arises naturally. And so I think that it is it's easy to observe around the animal kingdom. And it's possible that I am mistaken in some cases when I say that something is a handicap. But I mean, I don't, like, I think that this game arises very naturally. So I don't think that I'm wrong. What
is the handicap in Boost, in whatever Bitcoin, I guess?
The handicap is proof of work.
Right. So I guess, and here's where I'm completely just not getting it. Does this require the whole? Let's say if Boost is going to take over Reddit, right? If we're going to have Reddit controlled by the Boost protocol instead of their current system, which I agree the current system is very bad, right? Does it require every user of Reddit to understand this?
No, I mean, if it's a stable strategy, people who don't follow it correctly will just lose. So they'll people who don't understand the strategy will just naturally not be as visible.
Okay, as visible to who?
To everybody.
To everybody? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if it's a stable strategy, then people who don't follow it will lose. So someone who is not paying attention to messages in proof of work order will be lost in one of these, and so they will be rendered ineffective. And eventually, but eventually everyone will learn to follow the strategy, because people who don't will be punished just naturally.
And so, and maybe we can wrap up on this discussion, because I think this probably gets to the heart of where my confusion I'm thinking about this as a user. So I'm thinking about this as the person who would need to adopt this, of like, why would I value proof of work over money in these situations of content and whatever else? And I know that's kind of like what harder talking about. And you mentioned that money isn't an appropriate opportunity cost, but I'm sorry.
You want better information. That's what this is about. It's about not being fooled by people who have silly ideas, not allowing them to waste your time.
But so do you not view ideas as, like, do you not think ideas can win inside of a market to do that? Wouldn't good ideas win inside of a market where the market is, the better your idea is, the more money you make?
Well, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about getting attention. So, before we were talking about Bay Mail, and we were talking about the receiver receiving money.
Right.
But the sender of the email or Bay Mail is the one with the idea in that case.
Right.
So, if we're talking about getting money for ideas, what I think should happen is the sender of the email should do proof of work in order to be received, and then if you like his idea, then you should send him money.
Okay. Yeah, sure. But so what about, and again, maybe that's my big, is like, this doesn't mean it's applicable.
But this is about, well, but in Bitcoin mining, you have to spend proof of work before you can earn Bitcoins, right? It's the same principle. Like, if you have an idea and you need to advertise it, you have to spend first.
Yep.
Before people will look at it.
Yep.
And what I'm saying is you should spend energy to generate proof of work, because that will produce the that will be the worst for people with bad ideas. So that's the most punishing system for people with bad ideas who want to waste your time.
And I guess I'm still not at that jump in logic there, because I still think it requires us as the world, just like the struggle is very difficult to get people to even value Bitcoin appropriately, it still requires some kind of valuation of proof of work. And I know that you're pretty much making the argument that that valuation is inherently there because it's a burning of energy, essentially.
Well, I mean, they'll just lose the game. Like, if people don't value the proof of work, they'll just lose the game. So, like, to me, this is not about convincing anybody. I mean, I would like to convince somebody to help me work on this. Like, if somebody wants to do a project that uses Boost. I do want to convince somebody to do that. But this is not about convincing the masses to value proof of work, because what'll happen is they'll just lose if they don't.
Well, well, in a way, you do have to convince people. You have to convince people that they want to play this game.
They will naturally be punished for not valuing proof of work. I mean, that's what the game theory says. It says that paying attention to the signals by their strengths, by the strengths of their handicaps, is the optimal strategy. So, no, I don't have to convince anybody. People who don't do that will just lose. They'll lose relative to people who do, and eventually eventually reality will just naturally teach people to follow the best strategy, because the ones who don't will be punished.
If they're all playing the game.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's a stable strategy, so that means they have to be playing the game. So stable strategy, remember, that means when it means when everybody is following the strategy, nobody is better off by doing something different. And if there is only a single stable strategy, then people are always worse off by not following the stable strategy. Now, if there's several possible stable strategies, then you can't predict what will happen a priori. But I think that anybody who reads messages in proof of work order will be better off, and that's something that I can't prove. But I'm not aware of a strategy that I think is competitive with that one. So potentially there could be more stable strategies. I have not seen any that I believe is competitive. So if I'm right, what will happen when we turn this on is the people who use it will be better off, and the people who don't will be worse off, and the people who don't use it will just keep getting punished until they do use it. And we don't have to convince anybody, because it's just aligned with reality.
And I suppose I see what you're getting at, but I guess if I had to pick between reading the content or reading the message or whatever this scenario is with the highest proof of work or the one that's going to give me money, I'm going to pick the one that gives me money. And I think that's where it seems like no matter what, the money has to go somewhere here. Either I'm paying someone's getting paid to do the proof of work on something, or someone's
why would you think that the information that has money attached is better? No matter what, it would be.
No matter what, there's money attached to both. It's just that in one instance, the money was used to pay a miner to attach proof of work. In the other instance, the money is going to either the recipient or part of it to the service, providing you the service to give it to the recipient, whatever else, right?
Well, I mean, that completely changes it if the recipient of the message gets the money, because then that's an avenue for manipulation. So
I'm arguing this is the same thing, because I'm just paying.
If you don't receive money, the only possible way you can benefit from the message is from the contents. But if you do receive money, then you could receive shitty information, but still want the message, because there's money attached.
I'm listening. Sorry. My two dogs are going crazy.
Oh, well, that's fine.
So, okay. I guess I feel like these are both manipulatable strategies, because in one instance, I can just manipulate it by, I'm still using money. Money is still the common denominator of what's being used to accomplish these two things. In one instance, the money is being given to a miner. In the other instance, the money goes somewhere else, right?
Well, but in the instance where money is being paid to a miner, that's for services rendered. So the money is being used correctly in that instance, because you pay for proof of work, and that's what you get.
But why is that more correct than well, I know that's what you're going over here, but I guess I'm thinking about this from an end user's perspective, and it still feels like it's like an extra challenge. Not only do it's already hard enough to convince people why a different money is more valuable or should be, like, why should a business take Bitcoin over US dollar, right? That's very,
Well, I mean, you shouldn't be trying to convince people. They need to do their own thinking.
well, I don't. I'm not saying I'm going out and convincing them, but in a way, by building on top of the blockchain, you're trying to increase its value, and its signal to the rest of the world of, hey, this thing is inherently valued because of the value that you can get out of it,
I mean,
right?
the reason that I designed the Boost system is because I want to be a customer. So Boost works as long as there's 3 people or more. That's as many as we need. So what I want is better information, and I'm not trying to convince lots of people to use it. I just want to be away from the bad information. To me, it's still great if only 3 people use it. And the reason it's 3 people is uh, proof of work is for competing information. And if there's only 2 people, then that's a conversation and people just take turns. So there isn't competition. But we don't need it until we have 3 people. But if you don't, I mean, if you don't like it, don't get any. Um, I think that you will eventually be punished until you have to use it. But that's just my hypothesis.
So yeah, and so then maybe the last question I'll ask you is, um, what is different between this and like Adam Back's original Hashcash? Oh,
Nothing.
sorry.
The only difference is that it's updated for Bitcoin.
Okay.
So in Hashcash, the idea was you generate a work target, and this can be interactive or non-interactive. Um, um, I guess that's the same. The same is true with Boost. You can have some interaction prior to doing the work, where both parties decide on how much needs to get done. And then, so what I've added is I've encoded that in a Bitcoin transaction, and I've designed the script so that the proof of work function is compatible with all of the technology that we already use in Bitcoin. So, and that means it's compatible with Bitcoin block headers. So I've used a format that's identical to a Bitcoin block header, and it's compatible with the Stratum protocol. And that's how miners interact with mining pools. So a Boost transaction or output can be translated into a Bitcoin Stratum job that all of the existing infrastructure can immediately work with. And that's good because it means that everything that happens with Boost is aligned with Bitcoin. So you can't use Boost to reduce the value of Bitcoin, because if you try, then the difficulty will naturally go down, and people won't pay attention as much to what you're saying. So people will use Boost to talk about how to make Bitcoin more valuable, and that's what I think has been missing from Bitcoin for the last 10 years, is people who want to take a rational approach to making Bitcoin more valuable. Well, and I mean in terms of the conversation they're having, not in terms of like, uh, well, I think many ideas, I think most of the ideas in Bitcoin are unhelpful. And it's only been recently in BSV that people have started doing some stuff that's actually good. But I still think people have a lot of trouble having a conversation about what makes Bitcoin more valuable. So, well, I would actually, I have some more material that I would like to go over because I'd like to talk about the problem with MetaNet ICU's business model. And I have
While I have this in my head, can I ask you one question?
yeah.
Why is BTC not more valuable than BSV since it has a more accumulated proof of work?
Um, well, uh, the value of all of these coins is speculative, and so what these markets are a future prediction contest. So,
but would you argue,
what's happened?
Forget price. Would you argue that BSV is more valuable than BTC?
Well, yeah, I would argue that, and I define value as the ultimate causes of prices. So, to me, BSV the the causes of uh, higher prices inherent in what's happening now, whereas BTC has the causes of lower prices in what's going on in there now. It has the causes of prices at zero, I would say.
But so then why doesn't the proof of work accumulation reflect the inherent value?
Well, I don't think that the Bitcoin miners have been following this strategy in this paper very well, because the males in the stable strategy have to correctly value themselves. So they have to figure out a level of advertising that is proportionate with their own real value. And um, so I don't think that the miners have been doing that very well yet. So I think that we will have to see more people lose until until better competition wins out.
Okay.
So like right now, the Bitcoin miners are like a mutated herd of deer.
Okay.
So they're like they're like a disproportionate herd animal. And as time goes on, they will all need to learn better proportions. And this is sort of the big part of the strategy of the game is figure out what is the correct proportion. And right now, people haven't really understood that that is the strategy, as far as I can tell. So I think we'll see a lot more evolution in Bitcoin mining as time goes on. And furthermore, remember it's only the the proof of work values are only on average correct. So it doesn't just because one miner has a higher proof of work value than another does not mean that he's absolutely better. That's only on average true. So you have to use some kind of, well, you don't have to. I was going to say you have to use some kind of judgment in addition to proof of work, but really you don't, because on average is good enough. Okay. But if you want to know the real value more accurately than just on average, then you have to know more than just the advertisement value. But in the paper, there is a stable strategy in which the females know nothing about the males other than their advertisement level, and that's what happens in the paper. But they the advantage of the costly advertisement is the ease of evaluation. So what a female can do with a costly signal is uh, rapidly look at many different males, and then from there, and so she's not going to be wasting her time on males who are just no good. If the males did not have the costly advertisement, then it might take a lot of effort to figure out that one of them was worthless. So with the costly advertisement, the female in this model can can at a glance find a population of males that among them there's likely to be a good one. So the the amount of effort spent assessing is a lot less. So when we use boost, people will decide on how how many articles they want to read. So some people might read the top 10 boosted content, and some people might read the top 100, and some people might read the top 1,000, and so on. And the way that these contents will change ranks is people will assess whether the rank is correct, and they'll assess whether they can benefit by changing the rank. And we could have a system where the benefit is some kind of payment. But to me, if we're just having a conversation, we don't really need that. And the benefit comes from other people understanding ideas that are important. So to me, there is no need for a payment system built on top of that. Not that you shouldn't build one, or that something like that isn't possible.
Sure.
But all I want is to be able to have a conversation that isn't being taken over by manipulators who are wasting time. And that in and of itself is valuable enough as far as I'm concerned. So let's go back to COVID-19, because there was a lot of misinformation going around about that.
Mm-hmm.
And if we were using boost, well, when we use boost, you can be you're always near to a good idea. That doesn't mean that the top ranked content is a good idea, but it means that you have to read through fewer posts before you get to something good. So, um, uh, so the best ways, the optimal ways of combating the virus would have been naturally moved up the ranking, because people would know that the higher up it was, the more people would read it, and all of the different ideas would be in competition. And as better ideas moved higher up the rankings, the human population as a whole would be better protected. And so everybody who was boosting content would also be better off because they had boosted the content. And if everybody was doing that, then there wouldn't be manipulators telling them bad ways of combating the virus. It would be telling them that it's not dangerous, or telling them that it's much more dangerous than it actually is, or um, people would converge on the best ideas, and that's not what happened this time around. So that's what
Sure.
that's what I want to start
Sure.
happening later on.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
So, but I still want to talk about MetaNet ICU, because I see this as a very destructive um, system. And I have this tweet from Bitsco, who explains how it came about. So he said, Craig left the open and unmoderated chat room I established after repeated trolling by Peter Razoon. Now, if they had been using proof of work there, then Peter Razoon would have had to have done proof of work every time he wanted to troll Craig. So he would have not have been able to do that as much. So he said, I asked Joel to lead a moderated channel. Craig offered to pay the thing. We all at the time there thought it better each person paid. Okay, so there's the problem, is that they wanted everybody to be invested in the system. They decided to use payments.
Well, real quick, to be fair, for Slack, the reason why you would pay for Slack is so that the history doesn't wipe. So there needs to be a payment if you want to use Slack and not have your history get wiped. So no matter what payment needs to be made, the decision, I guess, here is who makes the payment.
Yes. Well, so okay. So the problem with well, yeah. So people need to pay in order to use Slack, but they're paying more than just what it costs to be a member of a Slack channel. Well, so the way that I interpret this isn't necessarily exactly what he means, but the way that I interpret this is that he's saying that they wanted people to be invested. So, but the problem with that is the way that people develop cognitive dissonance is by becoming invested in something that doesn't offer a real service, or that isn't actually good. So when we use proof of work, we're showing that we're invested, but we're not invested in something else. We're invested in ourselves. See, so what I think is going on in MetaNet ICU is that people think that they can buy friends. Well, they can't, and so because they get invested in the community before they get a chance to be part of the community, it's a recipe for cognitive dissonance.
Okay, so I'm not gonna get into the MetaNet ICU stuff that much because I just don't care about all of this. Like, here's what I would say, because I've been in it. I was in it when Peter Risen was in there. I was in it when I've been in that. It used to be BTC fork all the way until it's been probably, however many years. What did happen when the Slack went from unpaid to paid is, and this is, I think, where my fundamental disagreement of this comes from. Every single person that was there just to antagonize, and you have to understand too, even when it was Bitcoin Cash, a lot of people that I just did not want to have any communications with were in the Slack channel spamming every thread with just stuff that you did not want to see. If you cared at all about Bitcoin, it was just a ton of just unrelated political things and whatever else. I actually think it demonstrated an opportunity cost for people to say, I really want to have a high quality conversation about Bitcoin. I'm going to stake my claim in that conversation by paying to do so. And then you actually do filter out a lot of low quality things. Now, I'm not going to argue that like...
Well, wait. Yes, payments do filter out spam, but the problem is they also filter out stuff that's not spam.
I agree.
Only proof of work only filters spam and not anything else.
Well, proof of work does require a payment if you don't have an ASIC in your
yeah, but that's for services rendered. If you're only requiring payments to eliminate spam, that's not for services rendered.
The service that's being rendered is a service that eliminates spam.
No. No, if you make people pay to talk, they're not getting a spam preventing service. They're just getting nothing.
They're getting, well, the spam prevention service is economics, right? So it's not like the service, well, it depends on obviously what service we're talking about, what platform we're talking about, all that kind of stuff, right? What I'm saying here is I don't think it's as simple as using money to buy friends. I don't, it seems to me more of using money as an economic function to weed out low quality information.
Right,
And
that's the problem. That's not for services rendered. Money is for services rendered. Proof of work is proof of work is for eliminating spam.
if someone else posts some information that's really valuable to me, by paying to be in that Slack channel, the service rendered is the information I'm getting from that Slack channel. So that is a service that's being rendered.
But that's somebody else paying. You just said you get a service, but somebody else paid. So
No.
That's that's not how it works.
We both paid. We both paid in this instance.
Yeah, but you're getting a service from him paying.
But he would also be getting a service from being there. If there's a situation where I'm the only person giving valuable information and I'm not receiving any of it, I'm not going to pay to be part of that service anymore, right?
Yeah,
So,
but it's not equal. Like if
I don't think it's equal at all. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. It's not equal. Yeah,
see,
I agree
so
with that.
it's not. No, that's not.
And I'm not saying it's ideal. I'm not saying it's an ideal situation by any means.
Okay,
I agree.
but I'm saying that I do have an ideal situation. See, if you want ideal, you should use what I'm selling.
I understand that you believe it's ideal. I have more clarity now. I understand what you're saying, and I think the biggest thing for me is like, maybe I've been envisioning this as like this is what everyone will use and is required to use, but I understand what you're saying where it has maybe certain applications that I haven't completely thought through. Whereas like, I still do think as a recipient, I would want people to pay me to send me an email. I can see applications for that, but maybe I could also see applications where I'm part of some group and we're going to use this proof of work system to rank content and we're all going to buy into that. I can also understand that application as well.
Okay, well, great.
Yeah.
But you're filtering out non-spam when you require payments.
Potentially. Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Okay. But
I think you could theoretically be filtering out non-spam with proof of work as well.
No, you're not filtering out non-spam with proof of work. That's the difference. You're only filtering out spam with proof of work.
What if I create something really valuable and I don't attach proof of work to it?
Then you do not get as much attention as you could have.
Yes.
Right.
Theoretically, if this system is the way to get the most attention.
Right. So yeah, let me add a final disclaimer, which is that you should not buy Boost unless you agree that proof of work is a stable strategy. So that's not something that is provable. That's something that is my conjecture. But I think that if you look through the paper, biological signals as handicaps, and let's see the book, The Handicap Principle, um, you will not find it easy to escape from their logic.
Okay. I will read it. I will read it.
Okay, well, that was for the audience, but yeah, it would be great if you read it too.
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, I think I'm not gonna. Again, I've never came into this with the intention of intentionally disagreeing or saying that this is wrong. I generally was curious. I think I understand where you're getting at for certain applications. I'm not convinced. I'm still not convinced that it is more valuable to me than the money alternative, but I think that doesn't really matter because that's what markets are for anyway, right? So maybe I will learn that if I want more attention, I would use Boost instead of some other payment mechanism that people keep associating Bitcoin with, right?
Yeah.
The one thing I still would disagree with you on is that I think money itself is an opportunity cost. I don't think we have
It is an opportunity cost. It's just not a demonstrated opportunity cost.
I still disagree with that. I still disagree with that.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because you earn money. Money isn't something that you print out of thin air. Well, for governments it might be, right?
Yeah, but the value of money has to do with the future of the whole economy. So that's why it's not a demonstrated opportunity cost, because you have to know about the whole economy in order to know what its value is. And people will just disagree on that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay. Well, I got some clarity, so thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on the show. Great conversation, and
agree.
I'll see you around.
All right, that sounds good, Daniel. You stay safe out there.
Okay, I'll try. You too.
All right, thanks.
Okay, good night.
Have a good one.
You too.